Don't know how I would have made it through. You came into my life so very long ago.
Hello, I am Jenny Scott Washington, visual artist, TV producer, and hosting Jenny Reflections. This program is created with you, the viewers, in mind to give positive information on a variety of subjects. I'm all about giving out some positive information. We know the negative, but let's hear from people who can tell you about the positive. We had Mr. Sonny J. Apan. His book is How to Achieve Success in Marriage. And we have some guests here who have been married over 10 years and can give you some insight. Because I'd say I wish I had a whole auditorium of young people so they can get this message, because they're the ones who need it. Because today everybody's just, I guess, don't even really think about it. They just get married or they don't get married. Where's that leaving us as a society? Our children are so troubled. It really breaks your heart to see the troubled children. I want to do another show and have some young people in the audience so they can ask these wonderful people, how you do that? So our guest today, to my left, we have Vivian and Sonny Apan. Thank you for being here.
Thank you very much.
And then we have Mr. and Mrs. King.
It's good to be with you, Jen.
And we have Marlon and Edward Grady.
That's right. Thank you.
And
Spencer and Kathy Jones.
Spencer and Kathy Jones. Oh, down here written small. Okay. I'm sorry. So I appreciate all of you being here, taking the time to come and inform our viewers about marriage, because we know it's not all Hollywood, all Hollywood. But then when you look at Hollywood marriages, you say, well, that's not so hard either, is it? It says love from my daily inspiration and the Bible. From the Bible first, 1 Corinthians 13:13. And the greatest of these is love. And our ministers will certainly tell us more about the religious side and what God said about love. Love turns a tide. If you turn to love as the solution to any perceived problem, love, as a still small voice of God, will reveal an answer. The entire universe stands ready and willing to support you at this very moment. Go inside the closet of your soul and listen for that answer. Write down on paper all the ideas that come to you. Do not judge the ideas. They act as roadmaps, leading you forward. Every idea you receive will be for your good and never for harm. Envision yourself free of the perceived challenges. What can you do now to move your life forward? Have you considered praying for yourself and the other person? Why not make a decision to forgive the incident? Take definite steps to release what has been so that you can embrace the new opportunities that awaits you. No good thing is withheld from you when you remember that love has already turned the tides in your favor. So what do you think of that, Mrs. Apan? You and Mr. Apan have been married how many years?
30.
30. And what would you say about marriage 30 years? How did you, as they say, how did you do that?
Well,
Like he said earlier, it is not an easy way, but the moment your mind, you build, because when I was about getting married, I decided to build my marriage on the solid rock, which is Jesus Christ and His words. When I come back to realize that I built it in a solid rock, I did not have any fear. I look at it as if we are playing, though it is rough at times, but we made it.
And you have how many children?
We had 4 children and about 2 grandchildren. So everything has been working out fine for us because of how I built the foundation. I built it on the spirit rock, and it has come to pass that way. So I really thank God for it.
Wonderful. And Miss Darpan, we'll show the cover of your book, How to Achieve Success in Marriage. And we would like to, for this session, very briefly tell us what prompted you, why you were so intent on writing this book. When you would say there are so many other books out there, but what would make your book different?
Thank you, Jenny. I actually was inspired to write that book. If you see the title, How to Achieve Success, it's not how to marry. Anybody can get married. Anybody can love anybody. But how to make that marriage work, that is where my point was. I look at our 30 years of marriage. I look at what is happening these days. In this panel, we see people that are married for 50 years, 30 years, 30 years, 20 years. That shows that it can still be worked out. Some people don't. I wrote this book with 3 categories of people in mind. People that are struggling. They don't know whether to get married or not. Young folks, old folks. The other people that are, they're married, but they don't know, they're not happy, they want to check out. Then the third category of people that have already been married 1 time, 2 times, 3 times. There is no solution in divorce. You have to make it work. If you ask all of us here, you have to make your marriage work, because the kids will be happy, the society will be happy, you as a couple will be happy. There is no child that doesn't like to see his or her mother and father remain together. Once they are divorced, there will be some things, fatherless figure, crime rates, bad omen that we see now. You see, all these folks here are people of old, but the new generation, they don't believe in getting married, they don't believe in making it work.
Thank you. And Mrs. Spencer, Kathy Jones.
Yes,
I
ma'am.
understand that, what church are you and your husband?
My husband and I pastor Southside Tabernacle Church. I assist. Spencer is the main pastor there, but we've been in ministry now Spencer's been like 38 years full time, and he married me a year after he was pastoring for 1 year, and I always told him his church didn't grow until he got a wife.
And you've been married for how long?
We've been married
37 years.
Oh, great. I really need some awards around here to be passing out. And what would you say that helped your marriage stay together so long?
Well, one of the things that if you're going to succeed at anything in life, you got to be committed to it. And because God asked us to be committed to it. And not only that, it brings fulfillment to you. It brings peace and happiness and fulfillment. And there are so many miserable people today because they are really not committed to anything. And it comes with the commitment. And once you have a spirit of commitment, then you'll find ways, as the doctor said, to make it work on and on. But if you're not committed, then you'll always look for the back door out on and on, because that back door will always be there.
Okay, thank you. We'll come back. And Marlene Grady,
Yes.
how would you say that you and Mr. Grady been married for?
52 years.
Ding, 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 ding.
Well, we're from the old school, and My mother and father, they were married for 76 years. And we just I took after my mom. I really think it took after my dad, you know. So we was courting for 5 years before we got married.
Yeah, how many
Old
children?
fashioned. 5. No, 4. See how long I've been married. Yeah, 4 children, 3 girls and 1 boy. And we have 12 grandchildren. And we have 5 great-grandchildren. And 1 on the way.
Okay, terrific.
So we've been...
What would you say has kept your marriage so solid?
Well,
When you have the little disagreements
I think I listened
You
to
just-
my mother.
with the rolling pin or something?
No, never. Never. You know, like I said, it was old-fashioned. You get married, you're supposed to stay, married. And see no reason for us, not to do it this long.
Okay, and Mr. Grady.
Well, like she said, the neighborhood we grew up in, you lived in that neighborhood. There were a lot of fathers back then. Everybody had fathers almost. It was maybe 5 of us in the neighborhood who didn't have fathers living with them. This has been like a 5 square block radius. These fathers in the neighborhood, they raised their families, and you watched them. Her father drove a coal truck. He gave me a job when I was 15, delivering coal with him. Paid me $2 a day, worked from 6 in the morning to 6 in the evening.
Wow.
He gave me enough money to take her to the Michigan Theater to buy her a box of popcorn and have some money in my pocket to go to school with. But I watched him. He had 9 kids. I watched him and my mother-in-law. My grandmother raised me and my brother. And we did go to church every Sunday. I was a Catholic. I went to Mass. When I come home, my grandma said, okay, go on across the St. Mary's because you're going to Sunday school, and you come back here to Mount Calvary for morning service up under where we live. But it was a thing then that we learned respect for women. We learned how to treat them. But just watching the men in the neighborhood, the fathers, you go out in the street, the fathers would be out there looking at the kids. They would talk to kids. They said that took a village to raise a child. That village raised those kids in that neighborhood. I was just talking to Scott over there. Everybody we knew had fathers. There wasn't no bad kids in the neighborhood, not like it is now. There's no respect being given because of what the kids are going through for the last 30 years, how things have changed. Everything changed. The whole moral system changed for our kids. And they've latched on to some of the wrong stuff. There's nobody there to turn them around. The fathers aren't there because we hear them talk about baby's daddy. All that kind of, kids, I read in the paper today how many young girls are having babies now without fathers. They're just having them. And what are they doing with them? Dragging them down the street. Ain't no daddies there taking care of these babies.
Right.
There's no fathers there to help raise these families. And that's rough,
Thank you. And we're going to come back, and when we do come back, I want you all to just bat different things around as far as what can we do as adults? Because I like to take grandchildren, and we talk to them. In fact, I was thinking of getting a different. Why is this happening? Why is that happening? And let the young people kind of give us an idea how they think we have failed them. And of course, we have to give a shout out for the good fathers and parents and families, because we want to come back with that. But Mr. and Mrs. King, Mrs. Margaret King, we'll start with you. How long have you and Mr. King been?
22 years.
22, wonderful. And how would you say that it's kept your marriage solid?
I just want to thank God, because that's the bottom line.